Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to my first video on the life and teachings of the historical Jesus. I've so long been on the radio that this is new for me, so you'll have to bear with me. Um, Before we get into this, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit if you don't know who I am. My name is Lisa Morris. I'm the founder of the Historical Jesus Project, and I have 300 members on that website, and I would like to personally thank you guys so much for joining and supporting me. And that website was up while I was doing my research for the Historical Jesus, writing this course for a major seminary, and I'd have to produce, I have deadlines, and it was quite uh, stressful. But what I decided to do after I knew I had to write a course is I said, as well I was advised to by several people, say, well, why don't you turn it into a book? So I did. And so the culmination of my efforts have been this book. I'm going to shamelessly promote it on this video. It's called The Life and Teachings of the Historical Jesus by me, Dr. Lisa Morris. And I'm excited. This is my first book, but it won't be my last. Once you write, I used to be an artist. I painted abstract art. And once you start, it's like an addiction. I like to be able to see something uh, for my work, see some kind of an accomplishment, see something tangible. And this book is definitely tangible. I've sold quite a few. Not a lot, but I just now authorized the final manuscript, so within the next 6 to 8 weeks, you can go to Barnes & Noble, you can go to Books A Million, you can buy my book, or you can go to Amazon.com, and it's only $19.99 for the paperback, and it's also available as an ebook download for $9.99. So that's promoting my book. I'd like to talk a little bit about the uh, the lessons that I have in this book. Lesson one is the introduction to the historical Jesus, um, studies, sources, and gospel synopsis. Lesson two is religious sects in Jesus' day. And lesson three is the quest, period 1 through 3. And lesson four is continuing quest. Well, Lisa, what do you mean by quest? I mean, for the past 200 years, people have been studying the life of Jesus. Seriously. And so there's different periods of time that are called quests. So what I have done is I have broken them down for you. Who was involved, what writers were involved, what theories they come up with in regards to who the historical Jesus was. And so you'll read all about that. I just told you about the Q source, and if you want to learn more about that, that's in there. We also talk about the Nag Hammadi texts, which were discovered in 1945. They were discovered and they blew open the field of Jesus scholarship. Um, Before, the only thing we knew about the Gnostic Gospels were from Irenaeus and the Church Fathers who wrote against them. So we only had Against All Heresies was one of the books, and it was a scathing account of the Gnostic Gospels and all that. So, but what you want to know, and you may already know if you are somewhat interested or a scholar here, is that what came out of it was the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Philip. But the most popular and the most inspirational and progressive was the Gospel of Thomas. And some scholars believe that the Gospel of Thomas should be the fifth gospel. And it's not really a gospel, it's more of, it's 118 just plain sayings, just like Q. It's just the sayings of Jesus that apparently he gave to his twin, Judas Thomas. Jesus had a twin, Judas Thomas. And that's very important to remember for the following lectures that I'll be giving. And in order to understand the life and teachings of Jesus, or anybody for that matter of fact, in history, we must understand them, him or her, in the context in which they lived. And that would be the first century Palestine, the Second Temple, Judaism, first century Palestine. A lot of people would like to take Jesus' sayings and all that and put them and totally direct them towards themselves and say, okay, I can understand this and I can apply that to my life. Well, that's fine. You can do that. You just need to remember that these sayings were given at a particular time for a particular people. But the sayings are like the sayings of the Buddha. The teachings are absolutely fantastic. So the other lesson number 9, and what would be a good historical Jesus book without some controversy? So I threw in a little bit of controversy and talked to you about the Gospel of Mark, which presupposes that Jesus was a homosexual, and this is a true document, and it was refuted by the Church Fathers. But the Church Fathers said, even if this is true, sometimes the truth is not the truth. In other words, if this is true, keep it under your hat, or you're in big trouble. Then the other half of my book, I spend talking about the kingdom of God, which a lot of it has to do with the parables. I didn't go into the parables like I wanted to in this book. I mainly went into the kingdom of God, like the kingdom of God is like, the kingdom of God is as if.